I start laughing, but the computer delays it. So again, Saturn. So you even the laughter, you miss it because it does delay. It didn't do that before. So even the laughter, anything that deals with joy or desire or pleasure, Saturn makes difficult during these challenging times. So sorry about that. That's crazy, right? Okay, now wonder why this is not. Let's see. Hold on. Hi, how's everybody doing? Good morning. It's about 9 o'clock or almost 10 o'clock. I've been up since 4 in the morning. Just dealing with the appointments. Ashley, Robin, Joanna, Joseph, Dimitri. Please, I'm gonna try to reach you guys either but between today and tomorrow. The ones I just mentioned, it's been terrible, and with the Wi-Fi was down, and my website, I had no idea. My website, the People's Astrologer, was down and was canceled. So I contacted Christopher. What happened to my website? It was canceled. We're even paying. I had it for 20 years. They canceled the website. I'm like, what the fuck is this now? So again, after now, I had to go and find out what was happening with technical support and let's see, by the end of the day, the website will be back up. It was hacked a few years ago and it's never been the same. They had to get another domain. Again, Saturn, everything is being tested. Everything. Oh, baby. Nice, mellow, a little, because it's early in the morning. So we don't want to be, putting all the fun right away. We got to even it out throughout the day. So one thing that we have now, oh wait, first of all, let me say good morning to you all. Let's see who's here. Rabbit no hole, Browana Basnet, Bella Alchemista. Hey guys, Jamila. How are you, Jamila? Good morning. Astro Asia. Oh, Asia, yes, Asia. I saw your notification I think a week or two ago, and I meant to call you because I was thinking about you the other day, Asia. So yes, got to talk to you. Kia, Michael Delgado, Paola Owan. Good morning, Michael. Alam the Gum. Good morning. Keisha McCain. For those of you who are here, thank you for tuning in. I'm here. Oh, let me get my my water. Okay. Como baile rico, cha cha cha. Astro Asia, very good, doing very good. Nando is the name of my twin brother. I have a twin brother, guys, and his name is Nando. So it's so endearing when you call me Nando, because that's my twin brother's name. Wait. I think it's time now for me to shave and trim it up a bit. Okay, tired of looking too old. So, the constellations of the zodiac. What are they? Do we really talk about the constellations in astrology? Do you know that back in the day, before the planets were discovered, before we knew that the planets were there, guess how astrology used to be practiced? Oh, before we discovered that the planets were there, we've known about Saturn. and we've known about Venus and the moon and the sun. Those were the planets that people knew existed. No one knew that the other planets existed. So the way that our birth chart was casted and the way that astrology was interpreted, both mundanely and esoterically, was through the plotting of fixed stars. Fixed stars was the original astrology until the planets were discovered. So understand that before the planets were in our human consciousness, well, we did to decipher personality and characteristic traits of personality and, blah, blah, blah. Well, today is, mundane astrology. It was done through the fixed stars. The fixed stars. Everything evolves. Everything evolves in nature. The reality is that the planets have always been there, even though it's been outside of our awareness. So now, and I believe I did a video of this before, a while ago. And I'm going to mention it now because that has to be explained in the scheme of the Elohim. The fixed stars of the zodiac are called constellations. Now, the word fixed stars is a misnomer because in reality, the constellations are not fixed. They move. They might move a few inches a couple of hundred years, or they might move 1 degree this way or 1 degree that way every couple of hundred years. But the point is that they do move. And eventually, a couple of hundred years becomes a couple of thousand years. And before you know it, the constellation that you used to look up in the sky every night suddenly is not there. And another one replaces it. That takes place every 2,500 years. We just finished passing through one long constellation, the constellation of Pisces. We are now at the tail end of the fishes. And now we see the urn of Aquarius and the water looming as the next constellation to take over Pisces and begin the new age of Aquarius. So, there's a dial in the heavens. They call it fixed stars because they don't seem to move from our vantage point, looking at it. Even the sun, which is supposed to be fixed, has centimeters and millimeters of movement. The fabric of space-time moves. When things are pressed upon, the planets are sitting in a sheet of space-time. And it's like a wave, it moves, it bends, gravity. So there is a weight, a density, a gravity, and a movement besides its rotations. So things are not really as fixed as they might appear or seem. You might be looking at a star, and the star is maybe 8 light years away, like Sirius or Cyrus is 8 light years away. 1 light year, remember, is 1,677 miles. 1 light year. So multiply that by 8. That's how far Cyrus is from us. It'll take about 8 years to get there. And maybe even more than that. But when you get there, it's not going to look like it does from our point of view on Earth. When you look at Cyrus from Earth, it's like a dim star, speck. And it creates like a little pulsar, like a flicker, because there's another planet planet Cyrus A and Cyrus B. They're binary stars. So when they do the turns, we can see we can see the depression in the scans in NASA and in planetary science laboratories, and they can measure these things. So why is it that if I were to take a spaceship and travel to Cyrus, it's not going to look like it does down here? Why? Because by going to Cyrus, let's pretend we can do that, you are going to go either backwards in time or forward. And in space, there's no reference point. Up is down and down is up. It's all relative. You might be, I'm 53 years old. By the time if I get to Cyrus and it takes me 8 years, right? That means I'll be 61 or 62. Then when I land there, I might be 100, 200 years old. Because remember, the time in here is different than the time in Cyrus. The rotational speed of the planet and the orbit around the sun determines the length of time. 24 hours in a day and 7 days a week, all those measurements of dividing time can be manipulated. Oh, I might land in Cyrus at 61 and be 15 years old. So even the appearance of stars is an illusion. But I will tell you what is not an illusion. The constellations is where we get the energy that fuels the personalities: Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer. And the intermediary of these constellations and their energies and the gods that reside there are the lesser gods, which are the planets. And where they call them the lesser Elohim. The great Elohim are the 12 hierarchies, which is the 12 signs of the zodiac. The lesser gods or the lesser Elohim are the planets. And the planets act as a satellite for the energy of these constellations. So when we do a birth chart, we are referencing the constellations, but we're doing it through the planets. But before the planets were discovered, it was solely fixed stars. And the mathematics was so complicated, that we don't do fixed astrology today. The mathematics is difficult, and I'm insane. But I happen to know fixed star astrology because I studied it. Back in the day, fixed star astrology was still part of the curriculum. So I can do a birth chart on fixed stars, but it will be extremely expensive. And I'm talking about like 2,000-3,000 because it's very time consuming. The mathematics is sick. It's very complicated. But in my website, thepeoplesastrologer.com, I give a detailed breakdown of the phenomenon of fixed stars and how it works. My website has valuable information. I don't think many of you really go into the website. No. But I'll go into details about it. Now, I know that I started with Sunday Talks with Fernando, and I started talking about the esoteric Saturn placing of the signs, and I left off in Taurus. We're going to continue that next Sunday in Sunday Talks. Okay. Now, there is a polarity to astrology. You have mundane astrology, and then you have esoteric astrology. Both have a different take on fixed stars and constellations. But one thing that is different from the natal chart, not using fixed stars, is that there's more information concerning you, your destiny, your personality, your soul. But it would take so much information that the astrologer has to decide what to say and what not to say, because it has to be researched and empirically built. And then there's the evolution of the person that you're charting. They might not be at that level of evolution to understand that. But the point of doing this is to let you know that the constellations also are the key as to why everything is here. And they designed it, and the planets execute the design. And Jehovah or Saturn is the chief boss of the other planets as they all manage the affairs of Earth. So you'll understand how it works. And there have been some charts in which I have referenced fixed stars. And I use it as a double check cross reference. I think fixed star astrology is something that maybe should be tackled when you're past 30 as an understanding. Um, Fixed star astrology is also primarily dealing with cycles of time, but the reference point in this instance will not be the planets, but the constellations. And the way that this is measured is by the rising, culminating, and setting of fixed stars. And in reality, that too is an illusion because constellations don't move. So, how could they rise, culminate, and set? They don't. The Earth is moving on its axis and rotating, and it gives the appearance of things rising, culminating, and setting. So, even that in itself is not real, it's an illusion. But the mathematics seems to work. Seems to work. The constellations give more information. But what's more important about fixed stars is that they can act also as a timing mechanism of opportunities that are presented to you and opportunities that are not. The constellations also have cycles in which things are influenced down here on Earth. And some of these cycles parallel the cycles of the planet, and some don't. Astrologers today don't work with fixed stars anymore. It's too difficult. The math is too difficult and time consuming. Oh, Lord. And then you have to do rectifications of time and minutes and seconds, degrees of arc. And then you have to take account for the daylight saving. Then you have to take account the Earth's wobble and perturbations. So many math questions to the it's differentiated calculus 1, calculus 2, and trigonometry with integrated algebra. So it's a lot of math. You will have to charge thousands of dollars. And that used to be the case back in the old days, where only the wealthy can afford to see an astrologer, because that was the mechanism back in the day. Today, we're in a different world today. And we know more scientifically, and we know more of the planet, and we know more. Astrology evolved just like everything else. And today, it has gotten so sophisticated that we don't have to use the fixed stars to really interpret someone with great accuracy. If you think I'm very accurate, no. If I'm 90% accurate with the knowledge of fixed stars astrology, it will be 100% accuracy. That kind of accuracy for someone young like you guys in your 20s or even early 30s is too frightening for you to know 100% of everything. Some things are best left to be mysterious because it adds spice to life. You don't want everything put out in the table. Then what will be the purpose for living? What will be the impulse to do anything else when everything is already presented to you and you know what's going to happen? So there has to be a little bit of mystery, no, and allow a part of you, aside from the astrologer, to discover that for yourself. Because that in itself can be fun and exciting and very gratifying. Oh, So, the timing of events, predicting cycles that actually lead to tangible results, is one of the benefits of fixed star astrology. When I used to do it, I didn't do it for the average person. It was always for heads of state or the elite or the wealthy. Because one birth chart will take me a week to 2 weeks to prepare. And then another week to learn the interpretations of those stars and what they mean. That's 3 weeks of preparation. And then I got to sit down with the client and do the consultation. That's a lot. A chart like that back in 1985, and I have all the stuff from back. There was a very famous astrological agency in the east side in Manhattan, very wealthy area. And in that office, and I mentioned this before, all celebrities and all kinds of people will go there and get birth charts done. Madonna's astrologer was someone that I knew for many years, and he also would charge. He would, you know how much he would charge just to prepare the birth chart? $3,000. $3,000. And do you know how much he would charge to then sit down with you and read it to you? $1,000 an hour. $1,000 an hour. I'm telling you. I'll give you the website. I'll show it to you. And people were paying it like nothing. But again, it was designed for a particular class of people. And that's just the natal chart. Back in Mr. Weingarten, who ran the organization, he would do fixed stars. And for that, he would charge $6,000 to prepare and $2,500 an hour for a consultation. Extremely expensive. You will never be able to afford this. And this is why astrologers don't deal with fixed star astrology, even though that was the original astrology until humanity discovered the lesser Elohim, the planets. And then the fixed stars lost their significance as the planets took our attention, and they became the new flavor of the month. And eventually, a fixed star astrology withered away in the background because the math for the planets was easier than the constellations, which are still light years away. So it became more convenient. And I have not seen a fixed star chart in almost 35 years. And today, you almost don't hear of it unless you Google and you specifically look for it. But it is an ancient art that has died along with the ages. So if you like, I can do a series on the major fixed stars that we use here in the West. That's another thing about doing birth charts solely on the constellations, is that you have different constellations on this side of the world, and you have different constellations on that side of the world. So if you are born on that side of the world, I can use the system here in the West because we have different stars in the West than we do in the East. Different stars rise and set in different locations as the Earth continues to spin around its axis. So then that means that if you married a woman from India and you're from the United States and you want a fixed star birth chart, 2 fixed star birth charts have to be done. And there is no rectification and relocation of those charts because the stars don't move and switch places. They stay in the East and the West. So therefore, if you're born here under those stars, whatever destiny you're supposed to live out here is where you should stay. If you end up here, the fixed stars here in the West won't help you because you wasn't born under their influence, but those of the East. So that's another issue that presents itself when you do constellation astrology. Just to give you a little heads up on it, okay? And we are done. So now I gotta go into some charts. Guys, donate. Thank you. Tarot card readings, great. 347-485-6258. Zelly, donate, or paypal.me/teacher farmer. Guys, thank you. Love you.